A lot of schools in Merri-bek really struggle with congestion. We also know that a lot of families want to walk or ride to school, but the dangerous zones outside the school gates often push people away from making that choice. So it's really about just creating a really hyper-safe, sustainable, healthy space in front of schools.
It's been absolutely brilliant. The kids are loving coming to school on Tuesdays. There's a real vibe and a sense of, joy when we start the day together. Lots of families are starting to come back. Our student attendance has increased on the days that we have open streets, and also we have less lateness as well. So it's just been brilliant all around.
We don't normally walk, we normally drive, so it's a really good incentive to get parents that don't normally do it, doing it. Once we're out and walking, they really enjoy it. It's so much safer. The kids love coming in here, playing, drawing with chalk.
This has been probably the highlight. Parents are saying, wow, can we do this more often, which has been fantastic. To see the joy on the kids' faces and to hear them saying, wanting to ride their bikes and wanting to have a play on the street's been amazing.
We have a huge percentage of our students riding to school. You can just see how successful it is. We've got kids riding, parents coming along, just really enjoying themselves. And it's changed my thinking. For someone who drove to work, bought my own bike and riding to work each day, it's amazing.
It's a fun experience. I normally walk, but today everyone's doing it, so I might as well join in.
It's also an initiative that residents and the local community can take part in. We want to see people coming out, having a coffee, we want to see people talking to their neighbours, and it's been really fantastic to partner with Bicycle Network and the schools to run these initiatives and really see, some healthy, happy street space.
Being part of Open Streets has been really exciting. We're interested in making people view their neighbourhood streets in a different way, being spaces for everyone and multi-use spaces, not just for throughways for cars.
And just listen to all this noise. It's great having everyone have so much fun around you and just being active. No, we're really stoked. We should happen every day.
This is very attractive for parents and kids to spend together. I think it's encouraging people to ride to the school.
I think it's definitely a good idea to get people active and getting people involved with the community. Because of this, it got a lot of me and my friends to ride to school every day. I get to see all my friends and talk to new people.
My name is Angelica Panopoulos and I'm your new Mayor of Merri-bek City Council. I'm a lifelong local. I've just finished uni, so I'm a law grad. I'm an activist and I've been a councillor for 2 years now. So today we are along the Moonee Ponds Creek in Glenroy, and this is somewhere where I've come ever since I was a little kid with my family, with my dog, down for walks by the creek and played in the park, and I've got lots of fun memories here. There's a lot to love about Merri-bek. I think the fact that we've got such a diverse, eclectic mix of people here who call this area home and who all care about this area is something that really sets us apart and makes me quite proud to be from this area. So my spare time's been a bit limited up until now. I do like just to see my friends, to relax, read a good book, and to get out and to see new things. It's hard to choose just one or two of my favourite places in Merri-bek. I think most important is wherever I am with my friends or my family and having a good time, that's where I like to be. Also had some great times just sitting in Coburg Mall and having chats with people, and so really anywhere where there's a bit of energy and a bit of life happening, I think it's quite fun to be around there. There's a few big challenges facing Merri-bek right now. In terms of broader challenges, I think we need to work together to bring the community with us on particular journeys, say to reconciliation, to other forms of equality that we need to have happen in our community. As the Mayor of Merri-bek, I hope to achieve a few things. I hope that first and foremost, we can make council seem a lot more accessible to people, and as though this isn't something that you have to wait until you're much older to do or until you've got X amount of years of work experience. I think making it quite clear to people that this is council, it belongs to you as much as it belongs to me, and so we should all get involved, and I really want that to be the overriding, message throughout this mayoral year.
Well, they did putting the solar panel on top of the roof. It looks beautiful, and what is important is knowing the help that it could for us for our energy sufficiency. I saw everyone here in our neighborhood is putting solar. So I said to myself, I will think about it. I will not lose anything, so I choose to put it. And that makes a difference. It helps us when we receive the bill now. We saw the difference from the usual amount that we paid. So it went down, and I think it will help us. The money that is being not paid before, we can use it with other things. And I think the overall help of that solar being installed in our roof is really to save some money and also helping the climate change. And it will really make a difference for the earth, in a way, it is helping us. So I will recommend, don't hesitate to put this solar panel in your roof. It is a big difference to have it.
Pedestrians and bike riders, including a large and growing number of Coburg High School students, are at risk every day on and around Coburg's Bell Street Bridge at the Nicholson and Elizabeth Street intersection.
The area is notorious for traffic accidents. Recently, a Coburg High School student was injured by a car while walking in the area.
Footpaths on the Bell Street Bridge are significantly narrower than other bridges in the area, yet the Bell Street Bridge carries more traffic than almost any other road in Merri-bek, 47,000 vehicles a day. The narrow paths, along with high volumes of cars, trucks and buses, pose an unacceptable risk to safety and accessibility in our community.
We know that more than 1,000 people walk and wheel across the bridge on weekdays, just in the morning and afternoon peak periods. Even more use the bridge during the day and on weekends. We also know that students are worried about walking and cycling across the bridge. And for many, it's their only way to and from school, or to access the after-school activities and shops.
I've heard lots of horror stories about near misses and things like that, but most of what I see is just less than a metre in between the pedestrians and the cars, and 3 lanes of traffic going as fast as they want. It's really not a secure space because there's no separation in between the traffic, which is loud and fast, and the footpath where usually school kids are walking across.
I use the Bell Street Bridge almost every day, maybe 4 times a week, and it just makes me feel very unsafe. I myself have had terrible experiences on the bridge.
The thing is, I haven't seen one. I've actually been in an accident. We were just like traffic, waiting for the green light, and then out of nowhere, pow, the back of the car just gets slammed into by another one. We practically jump out of our seats.
It's one of the main connections to get me home, so yeah, I have to use it on a daily basis. I've seen some near misses. I've been in a few near misses myself, especially around the little island in front of the service station.
So I was actually involved in a car accident myself. It was in the rain, a lady lost control of her van and actually went into the barricade. So I got pulled back from that and then had to pull one of the ladies out of the car. I was probably in year 9. So that was pretty traumatic and pretty scary to see. That kind of put me off using the bridge, especially by myself. It's very small and it's especially after school and before school, there's lots of kids going to and forth, especially because there's a 7-Eleven there. So it can be pretty packed, and obviously after school traffic makes it really, really hard. They've already implemented different lower limits, but in a sense that doesn't really change anything because not everyone follows the rules. Our school has lots of active transport modes. We use the bike paths and things that surround the Bell Street Bridge, including Merri Creek. There's kids coming to and from every single day, and I think that it's super important that we make that environment more safer and more easily accessible for students of all ages.
That is why we're asking all parties to commit $250,000 to investigate and design safe and accessible active travel options over Coburg's Bell Street Bridge. We need this investigation to be completed urgently within the next 12 months.
We're ready for all levels of government to work together with the community to promote safe, active travel for the current and future students of Coburg High School and the communities of Merri-bek and Darebin cities. To show your support, visit change.org and sign the No More Accidents in the Bell Street Risk Zone petition.
I had insulation put up on the top of the roof. It was a good thing to do. When I read the ad in your local paper, and it said, you know, it does help, and the lady was very happy. And I said, if she's happy, I think I will be happy too. And yeah, I think it's the best thing that I came up with. The difference that it's made, it's comfortable, especially in summer. I hate summer, yeah. Winter I can put a jacket on, but summer it's terrible for me. So this, you know, keeps everything down, nice and clean, comfortable for the summer. I have to go through the winter, but I think it will be just as good. Yeah, just have it done. The people who actually looked after the job and done the job, it was the best people that I come across. I felt very comfortable. I felt like if I was with my brothers. Yeah, so have no fear. They're great people.
Merri-bek Council is currently rolling out a new 4-bin waste service. This is part of the state government curbside reforms, and all Victorian councils will move to a 4-bin system. New purple-lidded glass recycling bins are currently being delivered to households and businesses across Merri-bek. Glass recycling bin collections will start in July, so please store your purple bins somewhere safely until then. Until glass recycling collection begins, continue using your yellow mixed recycling bin for all recycling material. From July this year, purple glass recycling bins will be picked up monthly or every 4 weeks. You can place your empty glass jars and bottles into this bin. If jars and bottles have their lids, make sure that they are kept on and not disposed of loosely inside the bin. By sorting your glass into a separate bin, you are improving the quality of recyclables in Merri-bek. You can learn more about the 4-bin service at merri-bek.vic.gov.au/your-new-bins.
I'm here on behalf of the City of Moreland to start the official process of renaming our municipality. The Council received a letter from the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung. The Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung said, retention of this name for the principal civic body for a diverse community is untenable. The Council agreed.
The language of this land is not lost, it's still looking for its people. And this is one big step actually to bring the voice of the land back by naming the local language area. Language connects us to culture. It's how we learn everything, how we express everything. Now let's use all the wisdom, resources, capacity, knowledge, history to learn from the past and never let it happen again, and move forward and help the people that need it the most.
Open Streets trials are initiatives to open the streets to people walking, riding, scooting, and close the streets to car traffic just to drop off and pick up times. We know that a lot of schools in Merri-bek really struggle with congestion. We also know that a lot of families want to walk or ride to school, but the dangerous zones outside the school gates often push people away from making that choice. So it's really about just creating a really hyper-safe, sustainable, healthy space in front of schools.
It's been absolutely brilliant. The kids are loving coming to school on Tuesdays. There's a real vibe and a sense of, joy when we start the day together. Lots of families are starting to come back. Our student attendance has increased on the days that we have open streets, and also we have less lateness as well. So it's just been brilliant all around.
We don't normally walk, we normally drive, so it's a really good incentive to get parents that don't normally do it, doing it. Once we're out and walking, they really enjoy it. It's so much safer. The kids love coming in here, playing, drawing on with chalk.
This has been probably the highlight. Parents are saying, wow, can we do this more often, which has been fantastic. To see the joy on the kids' faces and to hear them saying, wanting to ride their bikes and wanting to have a play on the street's been amazing.
We have a huge percentage of our students riding to school. You can just see how successful it is. You know, we've got kids riding, parents coming along, just really enjoying themselves. And it's changed my thinking for someone who drove to work, bought my own bike and riding to work each day. It's amazing.
It's a fun experience. I normally walk, but today everyone's doing it, so I might as well join in.
It's also an initiative that residents and the local community can take part in. We want to see people coming out, having a coffee, we want to see people talking to their neighbours, and it's been really fantastic to partner with Bicycle Network and the schools to run these initiatives and really see some healthy, happy street space.
Being part of Open Streets has been really exciting. We're interested in making people view their neighbourhood streets in a different way, being spaces for everyone and multi-use spaces, not just for throughways for cars.
And just listen to all this noise. It's great having everyone have so much fun around you and just being active. No, we're really stoked. We should happen every day.
This is very attractive for parents and kids to spend together. I think it's encouraging people to ride to the school.
I think it's definitely a good idea to get people active and getting people involved with the community. Because of this, it got a lot of me and my friends to ride to school every day. I get to see all my friends and talk to new people.
My name is Angelica Panopoulos and I'm your new Mayor of Merri-bek City Council. I'm a lifelong local. I've just finished uni, so I'm a law grad. I'm an activist and I've been a councillor for 2 years now. So today we are along the Moonee Ponds Creek in Glenroy, and this is somewhere where I've come ever since I was a little kid with my family, with my dog, down for walks by the creek and played in the park, and I've got lots of fun memories here. There's a lot to love about Merri-bek. I think the fact that we've got such a diverse, eclectic mix of people here who call this area home and who all care about this area is something that really sets us apart and makes me quite proud to be from this area. So my spare time's been a bit limited up until now. I do like just to see my friends, to relax, read a good book, and to get out and to see new things. It's hard to choose just one or two of my favourite places in Merri-bek. I think most important is wherever I am with my friends or my family and having a good time, that's where I like to be. Also had some great times just sitting in Coburg Mall and having chats with people, and so really anywhere where there's a bit of energy and a bit of life happening, I think it's quite fun to be around there. There's a few big challenges facing Merri-bek right now. In terms of broader challenges, I think we need to work together to bring the community with us on particular journeys, say to reconciliation, to other forms of equality that we need to have.
Good evening, councillors and members of the gallery, and to our viewers live streaming tonight's meeting. My name is Councillor Helen Davidson and I'm the Acting Mayor of the City of Merri-bek and the chairperson for tonight's council meeting for planning and related matters. It's my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's meeting. We're meeting on the lands of the Wurundjeri Wurrung people, and I wish to acknowledge them as the traditional custodians of the lands and waterways, and would also like to pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, as well as all First Nations communities who have significantly contributed to the life of this city. This council is being recorded and web streamed live to council's website, Facebook and YouTube. This recording will also be available as video on demand. Gallery attendees advise that they will be recorded during the meeting. A reminder that as councillors, we will act in accordance with the Councillor Code of Conduct, which supports the principles of leadership and good governance, that secures the public confidence in the office of councillor. In the event of an emergency or disruption, we may be required to take action to ensure the safety of attendees. For members of the gallery and councillors attending in person, please follow the directions issued by council staff and security officers. And thank you for your attendance and cooperation tonight. And I'd like to introduce the councillors in attendance in person tonight. We have Councillor Monica Hart, Councillor Oscar Yildiz, and Councillor Bolton. And councillors who have been approved to attend tonight's meeting via electronic means is Councillor Adam Pulford.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, we've got you.
Yeah,
Councillor James Conlon.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes. Councillor Mark Riley.
Good evening, all.
Good evening. And Councillor Anna-Olivia Carley-Hannon.
Good evening.
I also introduce Philip Priest, the Group Manager of City Development, and members of the Urban Planning team. And we have apologies tonight from Mayor Angelica Panopoulos and Councillor Helen Pavlidis, who have approved leaves of absences. Now, there's no further apologies from other councillors this evening. Oh, and Councillor Lambros Tapanos has also joined us online.
Good evening, all.
I will move on to disclosures of conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest to declare, councillors? No, I believe there are none. And the confirmation of the minutes for the previous meeting. Councillors, could I please have a motion to confirm the minutes of the council meeting for planning and related matters, which was held on the 26th of July, and I can see Councillor Riley online with his hand up. Is there a seconder? And Councillor Yildiz to second. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that carried. And before we move on to the reports for consideration, I'll outline how this council meeting for planning and related matters will run this evening. For the item in relation to planning permit applications, the relevant planner will introduce the report and the officer's recommendations. I will then give the objectors an opportunity to make their submission. After this time, the applicant will be also given an opportunity to speak. If you're making a submission this evening, please clearly state your name for the record. You're requested to present your viewpoints clearly and concisely on why you support or oppose the planning application. Please do not repeat what earlier speakers have said and keep the discussion focused on relevant issues and points that have not been previously raised. If you are opposed to the planning application, would you please inform the meeting of why you're opposed and suggest an alternate approach to which would satisfy your concerns. Please use this opportunity to focus on your concerns rather than matters of detail in the officer's report. And there is a time limit of 3 minutes for each objector and the permit applicant, but as the chairperson, I can reserve the right to increase or reduce the available time to any speaker. So we have 2 reports this evening. The first report is the City Development Activity Report for the June quarter 2023. Does any councillor have a conflict of interest to disclose? No. And councillors, could I please have a motion for this report? Thank you, Councillor Riley. And Councillor Yildiz to second. Councillor Riley, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, just briefly. Thanks, Mayor, Acting Mayor Davidson. Look, there's some really good figures in here in terms of improvements that the planning department have had in relation to planning matters. We're getting through a reduction in some of the applications by about 15%, where I'm also seeing some better than average compared to other councils across the state, processing of smart applications and so on. There has been some increase in some complaints, unfortunately. That's mainly due to staff turnover, but the officers are really wanting to attend to that. So good to be upfront about that, and hopefully we can deal with that. But it's generally that report's showing some good trends. If we can address the complaints problem and the staffing issues, I think things should be in good stead. So I'll conclude there. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Councillor Yildiz, nothing from you. Is there any speakers against this motion? And any further speakers? No, in that case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried. And we'll move on to our next item this evening, which is 12 Linden Street and 14 Linden Street, so they're neighbouring blocks, Brunswick East, planning applications, MPS 2022-769 and MPS 2022-772.
Thank you, Acting Mayor, and good evening, councillors. So the matter of decision before you today is 2 separate planning applications, each proposing the construction of 2 triple-storey dwellings and a reduction in the standard car parking employment.
Excuse me, the microphone green? It is now. How about I start again?
Perfect.
Lovely.
So good evening, councillors. The matter that we have for decision today is two separate planning applications. Each application is proposing the construction of two triple-storey dwellings and a reduction in the standard car parking requirement across two lots at 12 and 14 Linden Street in Brunswick East. These planning applications have been combined for the simplification of the decision-making process. We'll begin going through the site and the surrounds. So the combined subject site is located on the southern side of Linden Street. It's approximately 115 metres to the south of Glen Lyon Road and 155 metres to the east of Lygon Street. Adjoining the site is a three-storey townhouse units to the west. We have a commercial warehouse building to the east, single and double-storey dwellings that front Leyden Street to the south, and single dwellings opposite the subject site on Linden Street to the north. Just going through a few photos of the surrounding area. First, we have the two separate lots of 12 Linden Street and 14 Linden Street, each currently containing a single dwelling. Here we can see the three-storey townhouse units that are located adjoining the subject site and the commercial warehouse space on the other side. Here we see opposite the subject site, seeing those single-storey developments, as well as two three-storey townhouses that are currently under construction. For the key planning controls, the subject site is located in the mixed-use zone, as can be seen there. It's also subject to the parking overlay. The strategic policy setting, this area is located in the incremental housing growth area, as can be seen there, and it is in close proximity to the Brunswick Activity Centre, which is centred around Lygon Street. The proposal that we have, as I said, is for two separate applications. Each will be the construction of two attached triple-storey dwellings on each site. Each of the dwellings proposed will include ground floor living areas, 3 bedrooms at the first floor, and then a sitting area and rooftop terrace at the second floor. Each of the separate applications includes one dwelling with a garage and a tandem car parking space for 2 car parking spaces for that dwelling, and one dwelling with no car parking provided. The consultation that we went through with this application resulted in 15 objections being received for the application at 12 Linden Street and 8 objections received regarding the application at 14 Linden Street. There were 2 additional pro forma objections. The issues that were raised in those objections included a lack of car parking, overshadowing, privacy and overlooking issues, the inaccuracy of submitted documents, the materials and colours schedule being overly dark, overdevelopment in the area in general, traffic and noise impacts, and the provision of landscaping. A planning and information discussion meeting was held on the 29th of June, which was attended by 9 objectors, as well as Councillor Hart and planning officers. Subsequent to that meeting, discussion plans were circulated in response to some of the concerns that were raised. The key considerations for this application included the amenity impacts on the adjoining dwellings, the reduction in car parking rates, the height of the building, the setbacks, as well as the ESD requirements, which have been conditioned at 7 stars for an average NatHERS rating. In relation to the car parking reduction, the subject site, as I mentioned, is close to the Brunswick Activity Centre. It is within close walking distance to tram routes, as well as bus routes and car share vehicles. There are also good bicycle routes in the area, and bicycle parking will be provided through condition for 4 spaces for each of the dwellings without car parking. It's also important to note that the provision for parking for the additional dwelling on site would necessitate an additional crossover and the removal of car parking on street, resulting in no net increase in car parking. In regards to the building height and setbacks, I think it's most important to note that the dwellings are approximately 10.15 metres in height. There is no mandatory height limit on the site, and in the context of existing 3-storey development of similar heights in the area, it was deemed to be appropriate. In regards to the amenity impacts, it has been assessed for amenity impacts in regards to overshadowing, overlooking and other such impacts, and deemed to comply with the requirements of Clause 55. The recommendation, therefore, is that a notice of decision to grant a planning permit be issued for each of the proposals, subject to the recommended conditions, and that includes changes depicted in the discussion plans, those regard to the side and rear setbacks at second story, privacy screening, lighter material selection, and retention of an existing tree in the rear yard.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Luke. And tonight we have 3 objectors who have indicated they wish to speak. Is Julie Egan online? Yep. Hi, Julie.
Hey there.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was unable to join the YouTube call, so I'm not too sure what's previously been discussed, but I'm sure you just want to hear my objection, right?
Yes, that's right. You're the first objector. So we've just introduced the project. Yep.
All right. No worries. Look, I guess there's 2 points. One is the parking issue, which I've raised previously. That hasn't changed. There are 4 townhouses, or what looks like now to be apartments, on the between the 2 blocks. Only 2 have parking and 2 don't. So on Linden Street at the moment, it's traffic can only go one way. It's a very narrow street. We've got parking on either side. Previously, there used to be just parking on one side. And even then, it's just so congested, it's unsafe at times, and it certainly can't take any more parking on the street. So I think just the way it's been set up in the infrastructure around the area, there's just no chance that development cannot go by without adequate parking. Just the second piece to it is the design now. It has been changed quite considerably. The visual aspect of the new design is very much a block, almost like an apartment style design with 3 levels. It's quite imposing. I think the previous design was much more suitable for the area, so now it just looks like much more built up. I'm not too sure whether the design to that can be expressed as an objection or not, but there you go. So there's just that and the parking.
Great. Thank you very much, Julie.
Thank you.
We'll move on to our next objector, who is also online, Norleen Reeves. Hi, Norleen. It's just connecting to the audio. Hi, Norleen.
Hi.
Hi. Go ahead with your objection.
Oh, but I haven't. So you expect me to say the objection now, and I haven't heard what the developer has to say.
No, the developer will speak following the objectors. So.
Oh, okay.
And there'll be an opportunity for councillors to ask questions to the developer following hearing your objection as well.
Okay.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, well, my name is Norleen Reeves and I live at number 7 Linden Street. I'm directly opposite the development at number 14 and number 12. And my objection is the same as it was the first time. The developer has made no provision in the second application for extra parking. There's 1 parking space for number 14 and 1 parking space for number 12. There are 2 units on each block. I want to know where the other cars are going to park. Our street is absolutely full of cars as it is. And I'm an elderly person and I have trouble walking, and frequently I have to park in another street as it is. And this development, with the provision that there are no extra car parking spaces in the street, will make it very, very difficult for myself as well as all other members of this street. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Nolly.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, our third and last objector this evening, who is also speaking, is Asha Nicholas, who is online. Hi, Asha. You're just on mute, but please go ahead with your objection. Can you hear me, Asha? You're just on mute, and we're just waiting to hear your objection in relation to this development application. You're still on mute? Sorry. Yep, that's
sorry
better.
about that.
Yep.
Yeah, look, I think probably the previous two objectors, sorry, my name's Asha Nicholas, and I live previously at number 1 Linden Street, and I'm now building at number 13 Linden Street. What Jules, I just wanted to make a point that what Julie Egan was making reference to before was that the scheme that's been actually presented tonight is the previous scheme. And so I think what the councillors have seen is actually possibly a much more attractive scheme for 12 and 14 Linden Street. The current drawings are a newer version of the proposal, so it's probably worth noting that it's not actually the current 3D model or 3D visualisations that you've seen tonight. I suppose what I wanted to bring up again relates to car parking. It's again my opinion that all 4 units should provide car parking. It makes sense that all four units should have car parking. They're sizable properties. They're 3-bedroom houses. There are existing crossovers to the 2 current properties. And to not use these crossovers, they would be considerably underutilised. Subdivisions can happen in any manner of ways. So to imply that there would need to be additional crossovers to provide car parking is, in my opinion, incorrect. I think these existing crossovers could be used to create car parking to all 4 properties. There's no reason that car parking can't be provided with these existing 2 crossovers. I'm an architect, so I work in the field, so I understand how to create car parks with crossovers, and it's quite feasible. It's easy access to provide car parking to these properties, complete street frontage to all 4 properties, and as I said, through the existing crossovers to both number 12 and number 14 Linden Street. In previous discussions, there was a suggestion that we should address the car parking conditions within council. So, for example, change the 1 and 2 hour parking permits to resident only permit parking. Sorry, the 1 and 2 hour limited parking to resident only parking in the street to address this issue. But my concern is that the real vibrancy of the neighbourhood, the vibrant atmosphere of the neighbourhood, the access to restaurants, and, you know, what is really beautiful about this neighbourhood would really be significantly affected if we start making changes like that to accommodate the fact that, we've got this one development project that just simply isn't addressing car parking, which is it's simple. It's something very simple to address within this project and something that should be addressed. I'm currently struggling to understand why we're not addressing, it's just one car park per 3-bedroom
Thank you,
house, because
Asha.
there are houses.
Sure. And I just note your overtime.
I've just got one last point to make, and
Yes,
that is,
if you could say that quite quickly. Yep.
Yep, in relation to the bike parking or the provision of bikes, for me, I find that to be a bit of a token solution. They're not highly sustainable proposals. They're not like socially or environmentally sustainable proposals. So I'm finding the sort of bike parking to be quite token. They're 3-bedroom houses. They're big footprints. They're south-facing backyards. We're not seeing photovoltaics. We're not seeing water tanks. So I don't think the buyers are going to be particularly socially or environmentally sustainably focused buyers who are going to be on their bikes every day. They're 3-bedroom houses.
Yeah, thank you,
Buyers
Asha.
who are
I
probably
think,
going to have cars.
thank you for that. I think Councillor Bolton had a question. Yeah. Yeah, we've just got to turn them on. Has the light come on?
Oh, yes, come on now.
Yeah.
Hi, Asha. I just wanted to ask you a question. You say that it is possible to fit car parking for the rear 2 units that currently don't have car parks provided through the existing crossovers. Have you identified a location within the site where car parking could be included for those 2 cars?
The proposals sit side by side. So they're 2 blocks of land, of which each site has a crossover within it. Mm-hmm. So there could be car parking at the front of both sites for each property, if that makes sense. Okay. It would mean giving over more of the land to the north of all properties.
Great, thank you for that, Asha. We'll now turn to the permit applicant to make a submission, who is in person with us this evening. Thank you, Anthony. And Anthony is from P2 Consultants.
Good evening, councillors. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight in favour of this application. We lodged this application in October last year and have worked pretty closely with the council planning officers to present tonight a development that is highly compliant with council policies, including council's neighbourhood character policy, and probably most importantly, council's crossover policies. We've got a development that's highly compliant with the mixed use zone that encourages increased housing and higher densities. And we've got a development that is also highly compliant with clause 55 in regards to amenity off-site and internally. Hence, council's town planning department's recommendation to support the application or both applications. We say that the side-by-side dwellings proposed on the 2 lots are a site responsive development that have had regard to neighbouring properties, to the streetscape and the context, and provide 4 high-quality dwellings that will have a high standard of internal amenity within the catchment of the Brunswick Activity Centre. As part of the application, we did attend a consultation meeting with neighbours where we discussed issues and agreed to make some changes to alleviate some of the concerns. And Luke touched on those changes, and they included we increased the side and rear setbacks of the upper level. So pretty much the changes that occurred weren't really at the front, which one of the neighbours had suggested. It's more towards the rear of the property and the sides, so we come in from the back and the sides. We reduced the size of the rooftop terrace and also provided some additional screening to that area to eliminate any overlooking onto the rear, and to one of the residents that's got a balcony on the side, on the western side of the property. We agreed to retain a mature tree that is in the southeast corner of number 14 Linden Street. Another change that we suggested to, or we have provided a lighter colour to the rear of the dwellings and the upper level of the dwellings, replacing a darker kind of monument colour that we had originally shown, which was shown on the images that were shown on the screen previously. And some other changes, we added some details that were missing on the plans from neighbouring properties, which then were taken into consideration with the assessment of the application. I think the hot topic tonight would be the car parking and a reduction in car parking, and if we can or should we provide each dwelling with a car space. We have spoken to council about this. We did discuss with the Town Planning Department and Council's Engineering Department, and both weren't supportive of providing car spaces for each. And it's simply because the council policy talks about providing one crossover per lot, which we have done. And it also talks about retaining on-street car parking. So we felt that retaining on-street car parking is probably better off for the residents in the street, rather than taking up valuable on-street parking for these two dwellings. And given the location, it was deemed appropriate to have a reduction in the car parking as we've proposed. I think in regards to some of the comments made tonight, it's not an apartment block, it's a side-by-side development, which each dwelling has an interface with the street, and there is no common property, so they're all individual dwellings.
Anthony, I'm just conscious of the time as well.
Okay, cool. And yeah, so if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions. If not, then we believe that it's a respectable outcome for the site and the street, and we hope that gets support tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. And I believe Councillor Bolton has a question for you.
I've got two questions. One you started to talk about, but just my first question is wondering if what the objector, Usher, has proposed is feasible. Secondly, given that these are 3-bedroom dwellings, if there are people who are reliant on bikes as their prime form of transport, especially in the two dwellings that don't have car parking allocated, then it's likely that some of them would have cargo bikes or bikes with trailers for kids, yes, being 3-bedroom dwellings. So I'm actually wondering about both of those two things because a lot of developments I notice don't have provision for cargo bikes, and that is becoming increasingly common in Brunswick. But I'm also interested in your response to Asha about a way for parking to be allocated without increasing the number of crossovers.
No, so the suggestion is to increase the number of crossovers and to provide an open car space in the front setback that's got permeable paving, similar to what that property owner has done across the road. So we've had a look at that with the Council Town Planning Department, and we've decided that it's not the right way, because by introducing another crossover on the street, we're going to remove an on-street or 2 on-street car spaces, and also we're going to reduce the amount of landscaping areas in the front setback of each dwelling, which again is a positive for our development. In regards to bike storage, we do have there is a condition of the permit to provide for 4 bike car parking spaces, and in the front setback, we believe that there is adequate room to provide bike parking for cargo bikes, so we can provide that. Yes, I think what the objector said about not being viable riding and everything. I think if you live in Brunswick, a lot of people do ride, and it is a viable mode of transport for families and young kids and everybody that lives there.
Thank you, Anthony. And Councillor Hart has a question for you as well.
I just wanted to understand, I think there was two of the objectives talked about the fact that block 4 was actually different.
We can't hear Mayor.
Oh, sorry. It takes a little while to turn on. Yep, that's okay.
Yep, right.
So the plans that were on...
I'll just ask, so I
Okay.
don't think our people might have heard it. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. What my question was in terms of, I think two of the objectors said the plans that we were shown or the facade wasn't actually the one that has now been submitted. So I was interested to know, I don't know if you can explain it or if Council have got a copy, but it would be good for us to understand what that is.
So the facades shown on the screen, they're the advertised plans or the application plans. Yep. The plans that we've submitted, they're just showing that what we have said that we're going to do can be achieved. So then what's happened is that as part of the recommendation, there's conditions of the permit that reflect the circulated plans that we've circulated after the consultation meeting. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So does that make a difference visually? Is that what the objectors are talking about?
Well, what's at the moment, no, because at the moment they're the actual plans. But the conditions that we've got on the plans, they seek to, where it was black cladding, it's going to be white cladding.
Yes, I understand.
The upper level is reduced on the sides and at the rear, and the ground level is the condition of the permit that talks about not mirroring the two properties. Yep. So that can be addressed via the condition of the permit.
I get you. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying.
Great. Thank you, Anthony. If there's no further questions from councillors, can I please have a motion in relation to this report? Councillor Yield is to move. Is there a seconder? Do we have a seconder for this report? Thank you, Councillor Pulford. Councillor Yildiz. Your mic, it will take a while. Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony, for presenting, but also to the objectors. And look, our jobs aren't easy, but I think in terms of this this development, it does meet every single box that needs to be ticked in order for it to not only meet the state government's planning regulations, but also what council officers have asked for the developer or in this case, the architect to do. And from what I've been told, the architect has been regularly meeting with a number of the objectors to ensure that he is reflecting most of what they've wanted in this proposal, and that's what I've been told. So I think the parking issue is always going to be a problem, but I know a number of councillors have said that, in particular in the Brunswick, in that activity zone area, there is an issue with that. But I think with the limited amount of housing and with what the state government's wanting to do, I think we need to be prepared. This is going to be more of a common thing, and in particular in those areas which are urban areas. And yeah, I think this proposal does meet all the requirements.
Thank you, Councillor Yildiz. Councillor Pulford?
No, nothing further to add.
Are there any councillors who wish to speak against the application? Councillor Bolton.
I'm not really speaking against the application. I'm going to vote for the application, but I'm not happy with the application, so I just wanted to say a couple of words. I think it is good that it is a bit rare for developers to make changes to try and accommodate objectors at PID meetings. And, so the increased setbacks and the retaining of the tree, I think are really good, and the changing of the colouring and so forth, because that is so rare for developers to do. But I do feel that the whole situation of stripping 3-bedroom apartments of all car parking, while I know we do want to reduce car usage, I don't think this is a way of doing it. And I think what we're doing is setting up problems in the future. Plus, I think the bike parking spaces aren't really that large, that big, in order to properly accommodate cargo bikes either. So I just wanted to indicate that while I will vote for this application, I'm unhappy with the fact that all parking is stripped away from 2 of the units, especially being 3-bedroom units.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Are there any other councillors who wish to speak? Yep, Councillor Riley.
Yeah, thanks, Acting Mayor Davidson. Look, I just wanted to pick up the concerns around parking. This is often an issue in many applications, as councillors are familiar. The thing with car parking is that our policies actually discourage reliance on cars. I know that's hard for some people to get their heads around because we're such big car reliant people in Melbourne and Australia generally. But our policies have tried to emphasise and promote, biking, public transport, trams, buses, etc. And it's really well located for that. There is reduced parking in this case for these 2 dwellings, or these 2 applications rather. And that means that there will be less traffic in the street because they're less likely to own and bring cars in. If you look at page 35 of the report tonight, note 1 stipulates and makes it very clear to everybody that once you build 3 units where there was once a house, there's only 1 on-street parking permit permissible for that application. So those people won't have the right to park and compete with your parking or other visitors in the street. They'll have to park like everyone else according to the rules. And if they want to park their car long term, they're going to have to go and park it in a place without the restrictions, which hopefully will mean there's less reliance on those car use, and that they will be using car share and taxis and Ubers and other things, or jumping on their bike or their scooter or skateboard. So our policies are designed to do that. I know it doesn't always make sense to people who use cars regularly and rely on them, but that's what we're trying to do in this case. So hopefully that sheds a little bit more light on it. So happy to talk to residents a bit more about that if they need to. They know where to contact us. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Are there any further speakers, either for or against? Councillor Hart.
Yeah, I will speak against, but I've been actually very, very borderline in terms of this application. I attended the PID. I note we had a large number of objectors. I think 15 for number 12 and 8 for number 14, which is quite significant. I guess I also note, Anthony, your receptiveness to work through issues with the residents, and that is always good to see. And I'm also pleased to see that there are 3-bedroom developments happening in areas like Linden Street. I think that's really important. It encourages families to be able to still maintain a dwelling in the area when 2 becomes 3 or 2 becomes 4, and that's always pleasing. But I'm also concerned, I think, with the part that there's a number of parts that concern me, I think, with the application. And as it's an area of quite, I think, rapid development down there, rapid incremental development with the number of 3-bedroom or 3 triple-storey properties. So the face of that area is changing quite significantly. But I also get concerned, I think, when I read the reports, and there's incremental changes that are happening. I mean, we've got incremental changes with height over the 9-metre discretionary limit. We've got some changes there, even around, access to sunlight for some of those dwellings in number 10 Linden Street. And I know the rationale from the officers is, well, we don't have to provide it at those bottom levels because we've got three stories for people on number 10. But I guess I find that bit by bit, it concerns me that what gets eroded is some of the aspects that make quality living for people. And that's a concern for me. I think it's it's incremental change, but it normalises, I think, some of even more congested living space for people. So that concerns me. And again, with the traffic, I probably differ with what Councillor Riley is saying. I think the fact that it is maybe policy, but it doesn't match the reality from people, and many people, even bike riders, still will have a car. People visit, families particularly visit grandparents. They access sports in all different areas, even though I love the concept of the 15-minute neighbourhood or the 20-minute neighbourhood. We still have limitations in what we can access with public transport. So I think, particularly when I'm seeing the limitations on a 3-bedroom dwelling without parking access,
just
that concerns me. Yeah.
I think Councillor Hart's just winding up.
I am just winding up, yeah. So I have felt very borderline, wanting to, I think, applaud some of the benefits that I see, but being very cognizant of some of the concerns, and I think the valid concerns that are often raised, and I think each application gives a point of reflection about how we're getting that balance, and I'm concerned about some of that.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Hart.
Thank you.
Now, if there's no further speakers, we can put that motion to the vote, and I note that it is Part A and Part B for 772 and 796 that we're voting on tonight. So all those in favour? All those against? I declare that carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now turn to the officer to outline the
Can we get a
steps.
division on that, please?
No, we voted Part A and Part B. Sorry, Councillor Pulford, I didn't catch what you said.
So I just wanted a division on the votes.
Yes, we've got a call for a division, so I'll just take that vote again. All those in favour? So that's Councillor Yildiz, myself, Councillor Riley, Councillor Pulford, Councillor Conlon, Councillor Lambros and Councillor Carly Hannon. All those against, we have Councillor Bolton and Councillor Hart. Thank you. And so I'll now turn to Luke to outline the steps moving forward.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. So Council has decided to issue 2 notices of decision to grant a planning permit for the construction of 2 triple-storey dwellings and a reduction to the standard car parking requirement at 12 Linden Street, Brunswick East and 14 Linden Street, Brunswick East respectively, subject to the conditions contained within the recommendations A and B of the officer report. Following the issue of the notices of decision, both the applicant and all objector parties will receive a copy of the relevant notice of decision to grant a planning permit. Objectors will have 28 days to appeal Council's decision at the Victorian Civil and Administrative Tribunal. In the event that no appeal is lodged at VCAT, a planning permit will be issued for each development. If a permit is issued, the applicant has 60 days from the date of issue of the notice of decision to appeal any conditions on the permit.
Thank you very much, Luke. And that concludes our meeting tonight at 7:21. Thank you, councillors. Thank you to those who have spoke. Oh, and Councillor Carly Hannon, was that a wave or did you want to say something? Just okay, good night. Yeah. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Well done, Helen.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Luke.
Helen, Are you going to that meeting tomorrow night? That Bluestone, are you going to that one tomorrow night? No, the Bluestone Cottage one? You going to that? Oh, yeah. Yeah.